Hey guys, I'm Pixel Dan, and this is a review of the Masters of the Universe Classics Granita. This is another long-time fan-demanded character. Granita is the female Comet Warrior, the sister of Rock-On, and in the past, she's never actually had an action figure, but she did appear in the Filmation cartoon series right alongside Rock-On and Stondar, and because of that, folks have always wanted to see her in action figure form. So here she is, a brand new entrant in the Classics toy line. As you can see, she comes on that standard Masters of the Universe Classics blister card packaging with the brand new 10th anniversary logo at the bottom. The back of the packaging has a cross-sell of all of the current releases from Super 7 with some brand new artwork for Granita off to the left, and down below that we've got a brand new bio for the character. So let's go ahead and pull Granita outside of the packaging and get a closer look at her. This is another figure who, since she only appeared in the Filmation cartoon series, is a bit of a confusion because she's not actually in the Club Grayskull Filmation lineup. She's instead in Collector's Choice, which is the straight Classics line. Now, in defense, this kind of makes sense because if we want her to fit in with Rock-On and Stondar, who are in that much more detailed toy look, I think it made sense to put her in the line with Classics, rather than making her a little bit more simplified looking as she appeared in the animated series. So as a result, she's got a bit more details worked into the overall sculpt, and I will say that looking at her right now in this form, she looks pretty fantastic. I love almost this blank expression on her face here. You can see that her eyes are just like this solid kind of turquoise color that matches her rock-like hair that's coming down her back. It's a very, very cool look. And then her outfit there is a mixture of pinks and reds and golds with this nice light blue skin tone. She does have some nice metallic pinks worked in down here specifically on the knee pad parts and some of the trim like around the neck, and then the gold itself has also got a nice metallic shine to it. Overall, it looks nice and clean. I do have some bad paint spots, specifically where some of the blue of the skin is showing through on the pink right here on the elbows. It seems that way on both of them, but otherwise I do really like the colors and everything I'm seeing here. So she definitely has that bit of a double butt thing going on. You see what I'm talking about, where she's kind of got like the cheeks over here on the backs of her legs as well as sculpted into this. We've seen this with some of the other females. I think the leg pegs here are a bit too long, which is kind of pushing them out as a result. It's really noticeable for me because it doesn't really follow the form of her hips. You can see how they kind of jut out a little bit. It may not be super noticeable to a lot of folks. It's just something I really kind of noticed when I was looking the figure over here. Her rock parts will definitely hide that, and I'll show you the rock parts more here in just a bit. But before we get to that, let's go ahead and walk through her articulation. So that head is on the standard ball joint, so it can look left and right. However, with the thick sculpt of her rock-like hair, that's definitely going to hinder that movement just a little bit. She does have the ball-like joints at the shoulders, so the arms can go outwards, move forwards and backwards, as well as swivel at the bicep, standard tight joints at the elbow, swivels at the wrist, as well as the hinge joints at the wrist, so the hands can move up and down, which is very nice. She does have a nice ball-like joint there on her torso, so you can see the upper body can roll all the way around as well as swivel left and right. This, of course, is in lieu of waist articulation, as not to break up the sculpt, which actually works out really well there. She's got the hinge-like joints at the thighs, so the legs can go outwards, move forwards and backwards, as well as slightly swivel. The sculpt does get in the way just a little bit. However, she does have the swivels right above the knees, which is really nice there, kind of at the thighs. A little bit lower, but it's right above the knee there. And then she does have nice knee joints. They're just single joints. You can see I do have some paint rub there as a result of that as well, unfortunately. Kind of has the skin tone bleeding through. And then the ankles themselves, we don't have swivels down here at the boots, probably because there's no actual boot cut there, but the ankles do move up and down, as well as rock side to side. The ankles are a bit loose on this one as well. She's not too bad, like I don't have too many problems keeping her standing, but there are some times where she loses her balance and kind of falls forward a little bit, especially because the head is so thick, it's a little bit heavier, so I'm kind of running into some balance issues. But I do really like the overall look of the figure. So this is going to bring us to the whole rock portion, because Much like with Rock On and Stondar, she's got all these clip-on rock pieces, so that way you can try to recreate both a rock look for the figure, much like the vintage toys looked like, but also so we can try to recreate her action feature that the original toy would have had if it existed, where she folds up into a rock, much like Rock On and Stondar do. So first of all, we've got this back piece, where there's a little peg hole right there in the back, and you can see the long peg there. So this plugs in and actually perfectly forms with her hair. So this almost kind of works as like really long hair too. If you want to leave that on, you totally can. That would give her more of that toyetic look rather than the Filmation look also, and that actually fits on there very nice. But as far as parts fitting, that's kind of where it ends, because the rest of these pieces, you're definitely going to run into some problems, and I'm going to show you that right now. So I do want to point out, first of all, the sculpt is pretty nice on here, and I do love the metallic paint deco of all the circuitry on the insides. I think that's very cool. They just have little clips for the arm parts that are meant to clip over her biceps. You definitely have to make sure you clip it on the right way, because if you clip it on sideways, it's much too loose and it won't stay on. So you want to clip that on so it fits over the bicep while it's turned the right direction. And that way you can see it comes down and it covers her entire arm, much like the vintage Comet Warriors toys. They do bump off really easy, especially if her arms start to swivel from the articulation. It's pretty easy to knock those off, so that is definitely worth noting. But then we come to the leg pieces, and oh boy, the leg pieces are definitely the trickiest of them all. So, we've just got these little bands right here that are meant to clip over the thighs, but they don't really fit very good. As you can see, they fall off very easy because these clips are like too loose or something. I'm not sure what's going on, but it's really hard to get them on. They don't stay on very good. You have to find the right spot. I seem to find them fitting best like right at the tops of the knee pads there, so you can kind of clip them on, but it is so easy to knock them off. You can see that too, how it just kind of flipped right off. Getting them to stay is a bit of a trick. I've really kind of struggled with this, and I constantly knock the other ones off. And then look, and now I'm knocking off the arm parts. And then I kind of came to realize why this is happening. So I want to bring in Rock On here. Here's Rock On from Masters of the Universe Classics. And the difference with the clip-on armor for Rock On and Stondar is they have these little notches on those clips that fit into the little sockets, like the peg sockets there on the knees, and it actually keeps them locked on. Like, look at this. I'm gripping those. I'm not pulling them off. They are not falling off. Even the arms, like, they fall off a little easier, but they still have these little notches that clip right there, and they don't fall off near as easy. You can see how it actually like snapped into place. So look at how much sturdy Rock On is. I'm really having a lot of problems getting these pieces worked on to Granita here. So it's definitely something to watch out for. But let me try to get all of these on because I want to show you. Whoop, that's a leg. Let me try to get all of these on because I want to show you guys what she looks like when we actually fold her down into rock form. Okay, so if you get everything clipped on, you can see the backs here do have two little peg holes here and two little peg notches on the back because you're supposed to be able to clip these together. They don't fit very good. I don't know, it's just like too stiff or something, but I'm having a hard time actually getting those pegs to like snap in place and stay. But once you can get them lined up, basically you're going to fold the figure forward, and then she's got this little butt flap thing here, which folds down to kind of cover her back end. If you stick her arms straight down, if you can, without knocking off the pieces, they kind of line up similar to this, and you can kind of fold her head forward. So, okay, you got to kind of grip her like this so all the pieces don't fall off. And then you've got this extra piece. Now, this is very similar to what we saw with the classics versions of Rock On and Stondar. Since she doesn't actually fold up into a rock like the vintage figure, we just have this little extra piece that she kind of rests on. So if you bring that in and kind of close that up around it, there we go, my friends. Now we have the rock form of Granita. And it just doesn't work super good. Look, I got this part just fell off again. So it's a bit of a letdown because, man, these pieces are all just way too loose to really, like, fit on her good. To store this, it's just not a very good action feature. I suppose that's not going to be too big of an issue because most of you are probably just going to display her the way she appeared in Filmation as well. But I will say it is a problem if you want to display her like this, with her rock pieces kind of folded back, because personally, that's how I like to display Rock On and Stondar because it reminds me more of their vintage toys, and I liked that aspect. So getting her to display with all these pieces on is definitely going to prove to be a bit of a challenge. So Granita comes with one other accessory in the form of her little ray gun, and this is really cool because it continues the trend from both Stondar and Rock-On. The vintage toys came with guns very similar to this, so she's got her own that has a little dish on the front with like a metallic gold and metallic green paint deco, and she even has the ability to plug it onto the little notch right there on her stomach, or can hold it in her hand. Now, the reason the vintage Comet Warriors had the spot on the stomach is so that you can store their guns on them when they folded down into rock form. But I know a lot of people always clip them to the front and use them that way, so it's really cool that they gave Granita the option to do that, even though she doesn't really have much of a transforming feature. And we can still have her hold it in her hands there as well. So I do approve of the ray gun accessory and the way it was made. So there you go, my friends. There is a look at the brand new Masters of the Universe Classics Granita. I'm very happy that we got this character in action figure form, and without all the rock pieces on her, she's a great sculpt. I mean, look at the way she poses. I actually think she's quite beautiful and looks really great, but all of those clip-on rock pieces just don't work the way that they probably should. They are very difficult and very aggravating trying to get them to stay on the figure, even if you're just going to display her on the shelf with those pieces. So I wish that those worked a little bit better. It's definitely the biggest letdown of this figure, which is otherwise quite beautiful. So this latest batch of figures from Super 7 were available by pre-order only. So if you missed out on that, your only chance to pick her up at this point is probably going to be on the secondary market. Otherwise, I would stay tuned to super7.com for any future sales or pre-orders. Hey guys, thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, hit that like button, leave me a comment to let me know what you think, and don't forget to subscribe. Until next time, my friends.